It is the eve of the College World Series. John Schreiner will be back tonight at some point. He's wrapping up things down at the Schwab. Dan Campen's going to set shotgun with me for the first segment. Brody Heidemann is producing the show tonight. We are brought to you by Bellevue University. If you're looking for the ideal college experience this fall, head over to bellevue.edu, register for classes, and become a Bruin tonight. No classes on Fridays. You do the majority of your classes online. Check out bellevue.edu for more details today. Great show lined up for you. We're going to take a look at the past 75 years of the College World Series and give our three favorite moments from the CWS. A little bit of a sentimental moment for me. I grew up on 9th and Hickory from Rosenblatt, but one of my memories is from Charles Schwab Field. I'll tell you what that is. At 6:15, the rest of the country, including the Big Ten, has caught up to the SEC and even passed them. Why? We'll explain at 6:15. We'll buy or sell on several different topics tonight, including Troy Danon not hanging a banner for the crown. Do we think it's a good idea? We'll debate. And then Hockey Corner and NBA Basement return. We'll talk a little bit of Lynx tonight. The golf boys are back in attendance tonight, Brody.
Yep.
Brody and Dan got some thoughts about what's going on at the U.S. Open today. And as always, we will wrap up the show with our Papillion Sanitation trash takes of the night. 402-951-1620 is how you can get a hold of the show. You can also tweet at us at After Hours 1620 as well. We kind of talked about this a little bit last night with Andrew Duncan, Dan, but the reasons why Nebraska can and can't get over the hump. We're going to give you three reasons each on both sides. I'm going to start with the why not. Because you know me, I'm a glass half empty kind of guy.
Mr. Pessimist.
Deshaun McCullough, Dane Key, Rocco Spindler, Isaiah Hunter, Marcus Watson-Trent, Elijah Pritchett. All guys that are expected to make big impacts and have made pretty big impacts at their previous stops. Well, the majority of them anyway. But they're all going to be transfers in. And this is the way of the world now, and I understand that everybody else has got transfers, but there's going to be a learning curve, and there's going to be a figured-out moment. Now, Nebraska's got the blessing of having three pretty easy non-conference games out of the slate, including Cincinnati. I think Nebraska is probably going to win that game by double digits. But it may take a while for this to gel. And if that's the case, it's going to matter what you feel like getting over the hump is. For me, getting over the hump is getting back to 9 wins. I think getting at least on that side of the snide is getting over the hump. And it helps that the schedule is favorable at the beginning, and kind of to the rest of the schedule. We'll kind of get in that in a minute too. But those guys and the young guys, the Vincent Shavers, the Willis McGahees of the world, the young defensive line, are going to take some time to catch up. And I'm a little worried about the start of the front end of that Big Ten slate for that reason, because they're going to be filling some pretty big shoes at that time. What's one of your why nots?
One of my why nots is probably the biggest question mark that it seems like always comes up every year around this time, around mid-season, around the end of the season. And that's, how are we going to split or use a running back this year? Sure. What is exactly Nebraska's plan behind Dylan Raiola? Now, there's a lot of ways this can go. And I, listen to our fabulous shows that come before us all day on this wonderful radio station. And, we all love to pontificate on the different ideas of how we're going to use a running back this year. And I got to say, it's one of those things that has just stayed muddied. And I'm not really a big fan of it. I think we're going to see a lot of Emmett Johnson, which I appreciate, but are we going to get Emmett Johnson involved in the short passing game out of the backfield?
Well, yeah, and if you
that'll be the big kind of finger hot button issue for me this year.
Well, and I think a lot of people have that question, and if you do, and because this is one of mine as well, is what happens when Emmett Johnson goes out for a swing pass and gets 12, 15, 20 yards, has to come off the field? And because listen, it's not like you can expect him to get a big two things we're going to ask him to do this year, right? Break open big plays, catch balls out of the backfield. It's not like you can do that and run up to the to the line of scrimmage and line up consistently over and over again throughout an entire season. So when that does happen, you're going to have to take him off the field. So it didn't need to be Mekhi Nelson or Jamarian Parker that steps up, because Quentin Ives is not that back, right? He's not going to be your scat back. He's going to be your 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He's going to pound it between the tackles. I think he can. I think he has the ability to have that wrinkle. I just think it's a lot to ask both of those things for him. But I think you need Jamarian Parker to be ready, and I don't think his body quite is yet.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem with a guy like Quentin Ives too, is we see him as a 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy, but that 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy can easily become a 10, 15 yard back
we seen
if
it happen
the
with,
holes are there.
we've seen it happen with Divine Azigbo, right? So I mean, it just kind of depends on what on what you're able to kind of. It's got to be a constant moving target, specifically for that position, because they are pass blocking, catching the ball out of the backfield, running between the tackles, running outside, running out and catching the ball out in the flats, lining up in the slot. And Dana Holgerson's going to want to move those guys all over the field. So it's you really need 3 or 4 guys, and you're very lucky because you have a unicorn in Emmett Johnson. I think can do a lot of those things, if not all of them, at a very high level. But who is going to take some of those reps from him? Because you can't give him 250 reps this year. You just can't. That's not feasible. And if you do, he's not going to last the end of the season. So he's not. There's another why not as well on the list. But my second one, and I guess I already gave my second one. My third one is John Butler, and I don't know if John Butler is a downgrade or an upgraded defensive coordinator from Tony White. I don't think any of us are going to know that until this season, and I don't even think that this season is indicative of the answer to that question. But he is a first-year defensive coordinator in this program, and it's only the second year that he's ever been a defensive coordinator overall. And we just mentioned it. There's a lot of moving parts on the defense as well. Now, I think other than the front 3, I think you can argue that there's an upgrade at every other position. I think Dasan. I know.
That's fair.
I know. I mentioned Dasan McCullough as a negative in my first connotation because he's a transfer in, but I think he's that guy that Nebraska's been sorely missing, maybe since Randy Gregory, from an eraser standpoint. You've added Williams Nwaneri, a former 5-star defensive tackle. You've got some guys. You've got 2 young linebackers that showed a ton of promise in Shavers and McGahee. I think you're going to see a lot of talent step up in that defensive backfield from a freshman standpoint too. But what does John Butler's defense look like with all of those new pieces in it? And I think that's an overall negative, but what could be perceived and end up being an overall negative.
Jimmy, let me climb onto your back, do a little piggybacking here. Because one of mine was definitely, what is the D-line going to look like? Just from a player perspective and from the rotational aspect that we tend to see, on a D-line, who's getting the start, who's getting the second, and who's going to be getting our, kind of third reps this year.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? They're going to be rotating a ton of guys. So it's going to be it's going to be a math problem at first. I mean, they're obviously going to come out of a fall camp with an idea of what they want it to look like. But it's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out as the season goes along. And if Nebraska is able to figure that out early, that's obviously going to be better. But the other part of that equation is what happens if guys get hurt, and then you got to refigure out that rotation all over again as well.
I really hope we don't have to.
Yeah,
go into a season and have to refigure out a rotation by week 4, week 5.
That would not be good.
Would sort of hurt my heart.
We'll go to the positive side of things and give our whys. I think the obvious. Why can Nebraska get over the hump? You got a 5-star quarterback. You've added a 5-star defensive tackle to the equation. You've added 2 big play wide receivers that are different than the guys that you had a year ago. And that's a lot to be hopeful for. We talked about this, John, too, last week. You got 2 guys that are perceived to be top 5 in their position on the offensive line as well. So for all the negative we just talked about with John Butler and a first-year defensive coordinator, you've got a lot to be hopeful about in the offense as well.
Yeah, this is one of my biggest whys. Why will they be successful? It's the progression of Dylan Raiola. This is what you're counting on, right? The growth, the year older, year better. And I think that's a definite possibility. I think it's an expectation, honestly.
Should be.
That he's going to be the guy that is one of the best sophomore quarterbacks in the country, like among the best quarterbacks in your conference. And that's a big why as to the reason that Nebraska can be successson.
Positives?
Yeah.
I get to be positive now?
Wow, Dan.
Because
this doesn't sound right.
The most positive thing that I've been saying, reason I think that Nebraska will be successful, is our linebackers coach, Rob Dvorak.
Yeah.
I love that linebacking unit, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he handles the thumpers this year.
That's the other part of the defensive coordinator spot too, right? Is like you could circle John Butler as a first-year defensive coordinator as a negative, but you also have 3 guys on the staff, well, 4 guys if you include Matt Rule, that have been defensive coordinators before as well.
Mhm.
So it could be an overall positive. But and Dan, you know my affinity for Rob Dvorak as well, and I'll double down on that as far as assistant goes. Talked about John Butler as being a negative. I think it's an overall positive to add Dan Holgerson and Mike Eckler to the staff, specifically at those two positions that they're going to end up coaching. Mike Eckler obviously can help you out a ton on the defense as well, and I expect this offense to. I want to say take a giant step forward, but not in the traditional way. In like decision making and taking away the ability to shoot its own self in the foot, and I think that's what Dana Holgerson maybe does better than anybody in the country.
Yeah, I guess my second why they will get over the hump is also on the coaching front, and it's just year 3 under Matt Rule.
Mhm.
Like I think everybody's is comfortable with the situation, the facilities, the lay of the land. You know, his fingerprints now, Matt Rule's, are on the program, right? Most of the guys who were under the old regime are gone. Those guys are not here anymore. These are all the people that he wants around him. And the players are here because Matt Rule's the head coach, not because they were here before. I think there's a reason that Matt Rule usually sees a big bump in year 3, and it's because of this, because the dead weight has been cut off, and the people that are in the program now are the people that he wants and that want to be there. And I think that makes a big difference.
That aspect is what makes me the most intrigued about what happens this year when that other shoe drops, because it's going to happen at some point. Something is going to go wrong.
Well, adversity is going to strike somewhere.
Yeah, and over the last 5 seasons, I guess closer to 6, there's been that moment where it happens, and everybody and you can hear collectively everybody in Memorial Stadium start holding their breath, thinking, "Oh no, here we go again." And I'm really intrigued by those tight moments and tight games this year to see if this coaching staff and this iteration with these players can overcome that. And it feels like those guys that have lived through those moments, for the vast majority outside of your 2 potential starting offensive tackles, well, one of your starting offensive tackles, is pretty much gone. So it's going to be really intriguing to see that. My last one is the number 2. Nebraska placed 2 top 25 preseason teams this season. No Indiana, no Ohio State, no Illinois. Nebraska hasn't beaten a top 25 team since 2016.
Gross.
Wow.
And if they can do it this year, that means you're either beating Michigan or you're beating Penn State. And I know everybody's chuckling at the Penn State comment, but listen, that's the later game in the season where on paper, this thing should be humming. And I know it's probably going to be, there's a chance that could be the number 1 team in the country.
Iowa could be a back-end top 25 team when you see them.
Yeah, fair enough. But preseason, there's only 2 top 25 teams on the schedule.
Yeah.
And like, it kind of sucks Nebraska's not going to get Illinois this year, because I think that could be from a stylistic matchup, I think that could be a really fun game.
And a get back.
And a get
Yeah,
back.
That's a big get back game. My last one is actually, again, it's another player, but our leader, Mike Eckler, finally got his punter that he truly wants out of the portal. And it leaves a lot of questions with kicking, but the fact that this is the guy that Mike Eckler sort of put on a pedestal and said, this is the guy that I want to be punting the football for my team this year. It says a lot about, number 1, the reach that he has within the organization, the trust that Matt Rule has in him. And I think it means that Rule's given him fully the reins of special teams and saying, I want you to make decisions. You're very good at your job. Go out there and make the decisions that need to be made so that we can be a successful football team.
Yeah, and my last one is very similar to yours, Jimmy. It's about the schedule. Like, I think the schedule sets up for a team to build a lot of confidence in themselves early on. That it's a heavily backloaded schedule with the trouble spots. And if we saw anything from Indiana last year, that team had a very easy early part of the schedule and built a ton of confidence that propelled them down the stretch. I could see something like that, not Nebraska like having the season that Indiana had last year. That was lightning in a bottle, but something to that effect where they build a ton of confidence with some of those lighter games early on in the schedule. And then later on, they're so confident in themselves and believing so much in what they've been doing that it can produce a win or 2 late in the season somewhere. So I think the schedule sets up to build this team as it goes.
Well, and back to Archie Wilson for a second, the punter Dan was just referencing.
Hi, mate.
and as Brody just referenced,
Pro Kick Australia.
he's an Australian
Yeah.
punter. He can kick with both feet, and it's going to be really interesting to see how teams have to adjust to that. Because it's one thing where when you know where the ball is coming from and what side of the foot you can expect it to be off of, but the fact that Nebraska could flip that on its ear anytime they want is a giant benefit in my opinion. And probably a trend you're going to see from most coaching staffs across the country, or maybe even at the elementary, high school level, just trying to teach.
Yep.
And it's very intriguing. Hey, that's our whys and why nots. Nebraska can and can't get over the hump in 2025. If you missed it, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Allo Fiber. Allo goes beyond internet, bringing a fast, reliable internet speed right to your house with an all-fiber network. Allo also goes beyond customer service expectations with local teammates. That's right, no robots, nobody across the sea, just people here in Nebraska answering your phone calls and your questions online at allofiber.com. Get out of the Stone Age and switch to Allo tonight. The Big Ten catches the SEC in the arms race. Are they ahead? We'll debate on the other side of the break. 1620 zone.
People act strange when it's getting out of breed, so let me be your oxygen.
Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. You taking some time off over the next week and a half? Wonder why? Well, if you get a chance to make it out to the links over this little, I don't know, we'll call it an Omaha holiday period, you're going to need to be dressed to impress. And the way you do that is you get yourself to 78th and Dodge and you check out the Roan Golf Polos. They look great. They feel great. You are going to love it when you put that thing on. It's going to feel like heaven. And when you step on that first tee and rip one right down the middle, you're going to know why. It's because you went to Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear and got your new Roan Golf Polo. If you're in need of golf gear, Jerry Ryan's got you covered, quite literally. 78th and Dodge is the place. Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear has been dressing Omaha for over 50 years.
Stepped out of my zone. I had to get out alone and figure it out on my own. And I know what I really want now.
6:23 on a Thursday night edition of the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by Bellevue University. If you're looking for the ideal college experience this fall, head over to bellevue.edu and register for classes today. The great debate. Why has the SEC been caught up to by the Big Ten? And have they been caught up to by the rest of the country? Athlon Sports wrote an article earlier today called The Big Ten Catches the SEC in a Race for College Football Superiority. And it was written by Stephen Godfrey. And there's a couple of indications in here that maybe the SEC has not only been caught by the Big Ten, but by the rest of the country. In 2019, the SEC had a non-conference winning percentage of 69.6% and by an average of 8.34 points a game in the win column. In the past two seasons, they've only won 54.7% of their non-conference games and by an average of 4.1 points.
Okay, can I just say something why I don't necessarily love this stat?
Sure.
You're comparing one season, which may have been an outlier, against two seasons, which may be the actual average.
So that's where I was going to go with this, because actually the year before was a higher win rate for the SEC. So it's actually been a steady decline since 2018, which brings me up to my next point, because I think the obvious answer about all of this would be name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
And I will always and forever point out the fact that I find it really weird that all of the scandals at Auburn and Arkansas and the McDonald's bags at Tennessee, and we know about the driving issues at Georgia, have all been caught red-handed and unpacked. And Nick Saban, who was winning more than all of those people combined, never got caught doing anything. And the moment that paying players on Front Street got put on the table, the late Sabanism started happening, right? As Josh Peterson likes to call it. We started seeing the decline of Alabama. And I think there's more to it than just that. I think Kirby Smart leaving and going to Georgia was a huge impact, although obviously Saban had previous staff members leave and go elsewhere as well.
They could never beat him, though.
And Kirby Smart figured out the formula, right? And I think that has a lot to do with it. But I think guys like Bryce Underwood going to Michigan, which was clearly for the money, and Bryce Underwood doesn't have any problem pointing that out. Dave Portnoy, who alleges that he came up with the majority of that money, that I don't believe, has no problem pointing that out. But I wonder, you brought up the last couple of seasons, and I wonder how much the Big Ten specifically has just gotten really lucky with getting some old guys and getting them to stay old guys because of the COVID rules as well. And obviously, the SEC has that same ability, but it's not like the Big Ten didn't get lucky in a couple of games either. I mean, I'm specifically thinking back to that Ohio State game against Georgia. And you get the opportunity to have those COVID seniors. And obviously, it's changed a couple rules. It's shown to be a benefit, so they're changing the JUCO classifications. But I wonder if this starts to tip back the other way. And it really feels like the other outlier in this is like, what if Dabo Swinney and Clemson get on the transfer train? Right? Because he's obviously had the success at the high rate he's had, and obviously it's tapered off a little bit post Trevor Lawrence. But if they decided, or maybe maybe Dabo Swinney just doesn't want to do the college thing anymore, and they get somebody in there with that money, that fan base, and that alumni, and that's the other thing. I think a lot of the reason that the Big Ten has kind of caught the SEC and surpassed them with the last two seasons and the last two national championships is not even just the money, like the alumni bases at schools like Michigan and Ohio State and Nebraska and Penn State.
They're huge.
They dwarf the majority of the SEC schools. And I think that's, I mentioned Dave Portnoy a minute ago, and I said it kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I think there's a lot of people like Dave Portnoy that don't want to be in front of a camera talking about it, that have no problem writing those checks, and that's why we've kind of seen this swing and uptick at schools like Nebraska, where you can get a quarterback like Dylan Raiola, and things like that.
And so when we first started talking about NIL, my opinion was that it was actually going to be a playing field leveler, because no longer when you're allowed to be paid, you can go and be the 7th, 8th, 9th highest paid guy at Georgia, or you can go to a school like TCU and be top dog.
Yeah.
And make top money at TCU, right?
Fair.
So I always felt like, and I don't think I've been quite exactly right, because it's not TCU that's benefited. It's not that tier of school that's benefited from it.
I mean, they did play for a national title.
They did, but not since NIL.
No, that was the first year.
That,
right?
yeah, that was like the
That was the first year.
the first of it.
And I think what's happened is the concentration of players in the Southeast have been more open to exploring schools outside of that region, right? Because it's intensely talent rich at the high school level. And most of those kids, it was very hard to get them out of that region. Like, the allure of playing for the SEC was just too big to overcome for a lot of them.
For sure.
But I think with the advent of NIL and the ability for schools to say, hey, you could go play for Georgia and make whatever, they're telling you you're going to make as a freshman, we'll double it if you come and play for us up here in the North. And I think that has started to balance things in a talent attraction standpoint. You can get kids to leave the South and go to a West Coast or a Northern school because of the dollars. And I think that's right. I think we're seeing it, and I think that has something to do with it. Now, I'm perfectly willing to be wrong about it. You can convince me of something else. But this is the way I see it right now, is that the concentration of talent in the Southeast, like, the walls are starting to break a little bit.
What if I told you that I could guarantee, I'm a magic genie, and I can guarantee you that Nebraska will play for a national championship at the end of this season, but they won't make it back for 24 years. And Cincinnati will play for a national championship before Nebraska does in that time period.
Well, I think we've already seen that scenario, Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. You mentioned TCU. In 2001, Nebraska beats TCU, plays for a national championship, has not sniffed the national championship since then, but TCU has.
Yeah.
And if you'd have told somebody that in 2001, that it looked at you like you had 46 heads on the top of your neck. Just an incredible moment.
No, I think that NIL and payment of players overall it has a balancing effect. Now, it's balancing the top more than it's balancing the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
I think the parity in college football is not top to bottom. It's parity across tier 1 schools.
I'm just begging whoever the most successful graduate of Tulsa University to just go dump a ton of money while they still can into NIL just to see what that would look like.
Well, look at a school like SMU. They're just a rich school history-wise.
Southern Methodist University.
Let me talk to you about
But-
oil money for a second,
But
bro.
look what happened to them.
Yeah.
Look what happened to them this past year.
Well,
NIL.
Well, and look, Houston, with the population explosion in that city,
Yep.
and the way they have invested in their athletic programs.
They
I
have a-
mean,
They have
play
a
for a national
quarterback.
championship in basketball.
They have a quarterback coming in a few years. I think he's
2026.
It's 2026. He's like the number 1 quarterback, and he's committed to Houston.
It's incredible. It's the great equalizer right now. We'll see.
Houston was a Conference USA school.
We'll see if
Crazy.
They kind of invented NIL before it was a thing, though. Or no, sorry,
That was SMU.
did. Yeah,
Pony
but-
Excess,
yeah.
boys.
We'll see if the House settlement ish can resolve it. We'll talk about that at the buy or sell segment. But if you missed this segment, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Goose's Bar and Grill. It's Papillion Days, so stop out and grab a $12 French dip sandwich with a side of your choosing. Maybe the kids are at home tonight. $2 Busch Lights as well. Tomorrow, stop by and grab their pulled pork sandwich. You're going to want to stop by during lunch because Nate is only making enough to feed them through the lunch hour. If it sells out, it's gone. You're going to want to stop by Goose's Bar and Grill at 129 North Washington Street in Papillion, either tonight or tomorrow for Papillion Days. The CWS starts tomorrow. What are our top 3 favorite moments from the series all time? We'll tell you when we come back. 1620 zone.
Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Bob at Williams Law. Big event going on in Omaha this week and the next. And you might have a youth who is going to partake in some of the festivities. If they partake a little bit too much and find themselves run afoul of the law, you are going to need some advice for that situation. Bob Williams is happy to help you out. Here's what he's going to do for you. He's going to sit down with you for your first consultation, go over your rights, explain the situation you're facing, and get you ready for your day in court, all without you paying him a dime. It's a free, no obligation legal consultation for the first time that you meet with him. If you've got a young person in your life who makes a bad decision over the next couple of weeks, and they are going to need to find a way to deal with that, Bob is your man. Check him out at williamslawllc.com.
I am flesh and I am bone. Rise up, ting ting, like glitter and gold. I got fire in my soul. Rise up, ting ting, like glitter.
638. It's the Thursday night here at 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu, register for classes, and become a Bruin this fall. We are on the eve of the Men's College World Series here in Omaha, Nebraska, and there's been 75 years of the National Baseball Tournament played in our fair city.
Mhm.
Some great moments. We're going to give you our top 3 moments all time of our list. And John, I grew up on 9th and Hickory. I could hear the ping of the bat from my backyard. I could also hear the train at the zoo as well. But the stadium on the hill is special to me, and there's been a lot of great moments at Rosenblatt specifically. But my number 3 is going to be not all. And you know what I found hard about doing this list was the moments seem to be replicated by the year and the tournament that they happened in. It was kind of hard to find special moments without a great series or great moments that led up to it. And that 2010 season, that was Rosenblatt's last. It was obviously special for a lot of reasons.
UCLA had Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole.
And then Jackie Bradley Jr. and the South Carolina Gamecocks obviously start their 2-year run that season as well when they came to Omaha. But they really took Omaha by storm and kind of were the team that Omaha was supporting that season.
Yep.
And the city really fell in love with them. And I remember I was sitting at Starsky's right across the street from Rosenblatt watching that national championship game. And you would have thought Nebraska just won the CWS at the end of that game. And it was just incredible how they just kind of took the city by storm. And it was just kind of a moment where, listen, this city likes to drink, but nobody really wanted to go home. And everybody, even just around the parking lot, not necessarily the tailgate area, but the parking lot, you just kind of seen people sitting there staring at the stadium and really taking in it really was the last time that you were going to get that. And I don't think anybody could have, you just can't appreciate those moments for what they really are in the moment. I just happened to be at Buc-ee's on 13th Street when the implosion happened of the press box.
Oh, wow. Had
no idea it was happening that day, by the way. Scared the living bejeebus out of me. But, all of that being all encompassing, like that moment where that Gamecock team won the national championship was a ton of fun just to drink in.
I actually have a ball signed by every single one of the players on that Gamecock team.
Nice.
We went to the hotel that they were staying at, and they had I don't even know what it was, but they were sitting out there. I can't remember. I think it was either Whit or Jackie that signed the ball, and I remember I was probably 3 feet, 4 feet tall, and this guy is standing here 6 feet towering over me, and I'm handing him the ball to sign. So, go South Carolina.
Well, obviously, a lot of my intense memories are from the last 10 years because that's I've been working every game of the College World Series for the last 10. So 2 of mine are fairly recent, and my number 3 is from the 2018 series. In game 2, when Arkansas is about to win the national championship and the first baseman drops the foul ball, and they go on to lose that game and then lose game 3 as well. And it's not my favorite moment because I hate Arkansas or something. It was just the way that championship series changed on one foul ball was so insane. It was just a magical thing to watch, the way a series can turn on one single play. It was craziness. And just remembering the way the stadium felt after that play happened, it was almost
everybody was pro Dave Van Horn.
Yeah. And it almost felt like the Cubs play where the fan reaches over and grabs the ball and prevents them.
His name is Steve Bartman.
The Bartman play.
You need to use it.
It felt a lot like that. And so just that moment of the way that series shifted on one play is something I'll never forget.
That was gonna be one of my favorite moments. I remember watching that on TV. I was going for Oregon State, I'm pretty sure, and I remember seeing that happen.
Terrible Nebraskan, Brody.
I'm sorry. And I remember seeing that happen, and I was like, oh, okay, it's still over. And then all of that proceeded to happen.
Yep.
And just crazy turn of events.
And they lose 5-0 in game 3. Just had no chance.
It just hit me that Brody wasn't even born when Dave Van Horn was the coach of Nebraska.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Dan, what you got a favorite moment from the CWS?
My number 3, I guess. Yeah, my number 3 was being in the building on the final game in 23 when LSU won the College World Series. It was an electric night. It was a tight game. It was one that it was my first year like working the entire College World Series tip to tail.
Yeah.
In a radio studio and being like, oh, this is a lot. This is a lot. This is a lot. And then having someone say, hey, you got a ticket to the very last game. And my heart like filled with joy. And I was like, come on, Mary, we're going to go to the College World Series. And she was like, oh, I have to work. I don't know if I can make it. And
You
I was
can
like,
make
screw
it.
it. I'm going alone. I do not care. Tip to tail. I don't think I took a bathroom break that entire game. I was like, I sat in my seat the whole time. It was like the first like real like championship game that I got to watch. And it was covered in LSU fans. And it was electric just because all the purple and gold that were
Yep.
coming up and high-fiving and hugging me.
I'm going to piggyback off the top of that because my number 2 is the 2023 tournament as well, but not for that reason. It's actually what happened before that series started. I mean, Tommy White hits that absolute bomb. Tommy Tanks delivers a homer to send the Tigers to the national championship series. And
With the most monstrous gold chain you've ever seen in your life.
and they go on to win the whole thing. And as I mentioned at the start of this, I mean, it's hard to have those moments without the great tournament and tournament aspects of it beforehand. But that moment specifically, you could have heard a pin drop in that stadium, and the sound that bat makes when he hits that ball. I honestly thought he was sending it into Iowa by how loud that clang was. Brody? Oh, sorry, John, you got number 2?
Yeah, my number 2 is my oldest one, and it's from the 1995 series back at Rosenblatt when Florida State's J.D. Drew hit 3 home runs in a College World Series game. He's the only player to ever do it.
People forget about J.D. Drew.
And like, I just remember like everyone being absolutely awestruck when the third ball goes over the fence. Just like what just happened? Is this real life? And like, you know, J.D. Drew is one of those names that you just associate with the College World Series.
Synonymous with Omaha for sure.
Yeah.
Brody, number 2?
Okay.
Obviously post 2044.
I'm a big Vanderbilt hater for one reason. It's not even the team.
The
It's
Whistler.
the Vanderbilt Whistler.
The worst.
So 2021, I got the chance. We were working. It was one of the stands. So I was at every single game, every single College World Series game. And so Vanderbilt went on a run. They had, crazy players. I can't remember. I think Kumar Rocker was on that team. Jack Leiter, all those guys. And when Mississippi State went out and beat them in the championship, and I just remember like the Whistler had been going all game, and you look over and you see all these Mississippi State fans happy, and he's sitting down and no whistles. Oh, that was the best feeling in the world.
Is the Whistler worse than the Cowbells?
Yes.
There's a fun story from that series that not a lot of people know because it happened down underneath the stadium. So Dak Prescott was at the game, obviously Mississippi State alum. And so the College World Series staff guards the College World Series chairs very jealously. The ones that are printed with like the official logo and the ones the players sit on at the press conferences, the one they sit in their locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott goes in the Mississippi State locker room and grabs one of those chairs up, and he's going to take it with him. And he starts walking down the hall carrying this folding chair with the CWS logo all over it.
Sir.
And he gets stopped. And they're like, sir, you can't take that chair. And he's like, why not? They're like, because we don't allow anyone to take those chairs. And he's like, can I buy it? And they're like, well, you can, but not this one particularly. You have to go on the NCAA website and you can buy a chair. And he's like, I can't buy it right now.
Yeah.
Then just like
I have the money.
It was this like he did not want to say, "Do you know who I am?"
You could feel it.
He could feel him not wanting to say, "Do you know who I am?" But they wouldn't let him walk out with the chair. They
That's
even
awesome.
Dak Prescott not allowed to walk out with a College World
Good
Series
job,
chair.
CWS staff.
Yeah, that was fun.
Number 2.
Number 2, 06, game 1 of the championship series, Oregon State
Yep.
versus North Carolina. Of course, as a kid, your idol is Michael Jordan. So you obviously root for the Tar Heels whenever they're in
No,
Omaha.
This whole city was rooting for Oregon State, and we all had Beaver fever in 06. People forget.
Not this kid.
Okay.
This kid wanted some tar in his heels and was a big Tim Fedorovich fan. Game 1, famously, of that championship series, there was a 77-minute rain delay. Lot of folks left during that rain delay. One man by the name of Bill Campanen said, paid a darn lot of money to sit in these seats tonight, even though we were out in the outfield bleachers. We got them for $10 off a scalper outside. He said, I paid darn good money to sit in these bleachers. We're going to stand underneath this concourse until you hear someone say, play ball. And it was worth it because I got to watch the only game that North Carolina won in that championship series because I did not have Beaver fever.
Poll question up at After Hours 1620. A Big Ten Federovic fan. I'm assuming we're probably going to have the same favorite moment just because we're both old.
I would doubt that though.
Okay. My favorite one's the 05 College World Series as a whole. Obviously, Nebraska. Nebraska makes the College World Series, and I was old enough to remember it. I wasn't really in my heyday in 01 and 03. Like I know Van Horn was gone, but I loved Mike Anderson at that point. It was just an incredibly fun College World Series as a whole. Obviously, Nebraska loses that first game; they win the second one, but being there for that win was just incredible to be a part of.
So the only reason it's not mine is because I was not living in Omaha at that time. I was living in Jacksonville, North Carolina at Camp Lejeune Marine Corps Base. And so I wasn't honestly paying that close attention to the College World Series. Also in 2005, I spent a bit of time in Iraq. So there's an excuse for not paying attention to the College World Series. My favorite moment is the 16 series when Coastal Carolina won.
Oh, okay.
And specifically the play. So if you remember, the championship series game 3 was delayed by a day.
Oh yeah.
Because there was a massive thunderstorm that rolled through on Monday and they had to play the game Tuesday at noon. And like so many people had gone home and like we're talking about the championship series between Arizona and Coastal Carolina and the stadium's about half full because like everybody's gone on Tuesday. Nobody's staying. You know, they're plane tickets. They leave Tuesday morning. Right. And a lot of people didn't change their tickets. Well, they missed an incredible game. Anthony Marks retrieves that ball that was hit into the corner and fires an absolute strike back to the infield to prevent Arizona from scoring the game-tying run, which preserved the win. Alex Beckwith, the submariner pitcher for Coastal Carolina, was on the mound that day.
Looked like he drug his knuckles on the ground every time he threw it.
And that moment when Marks retrieved the ball in the corner and threw it back to the infield to prevent Arizona from scoring was just like you knew the magic was real at that point.
Real quick, 2003 World Series for me will always go down as
the World Series or College World Series?
College World Series. 03 College World. We're talking about the College World Series.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2003 College World Series will always be the one that I think is closest to my heart. Rice obviously won the championship that year against Stanford. And of course, you know, in 2003, I was 8.
Wow.
So I didn't really have much of a...
You want to know how old I was in 2000?
Want to know how old I was?
Yeah, if you're surprised by that.
Yeah. Didn't really have much of like a finger on the pulse of baseball, but it was my first year where I was really like cognizant of, okay, this College World Series thing that goes on in this new city that I'm living in called Omaha is a really big deal. It's really fun. Go down to a lot of these games, even just like walk around and go, you know, down into like the little village and see all the people who were down there. It holds a special place in my heart too, because it was like the first year that I really felt like enveloped by baseball and by the love of the sport. And gall darn it, Rosenblatt didn't win me over that summer.
I like the 03 College World Series a lot more than I like the 03 World Series. I'll tell you that much right now.
I believe that.
Brody, you done? You don't got any more?
I'll give my last one.
Was it from last year?
No, sadly not. Back in 2017, I think it was like a random. I don't remember what the championship. If it was the second game, it would have been a Saturday. I think might have been a Sunday. And my dad, like, we were just sitting at home, and he comes up to me and goes,
"Because you were 10."
Yeah, and he goes, "We're gonna try and go and get into this game,
2017,
and we're gonna go and we're gonna watch the championship." So we went down to the game, and we got general admission standing tickets. And so we went out in the outfield and stood the entire game at one of like the, you know, like the tables they have out there, and watched Florida beat LSU. And I don't know, it was a championship game. It was like the one that I've been to, and it was like, I think that might have been the first. No, that wasn't the first game I'd ever been to, but it was just a random Saturday night that we went to the championship game. And I mean, I'll say that's my favorite.
That was our list. Go ahead and let us know what your favorite all-time CWS moment is in the night shift chat. That's right. Leave us a comment on YouTube or Twitter, and we'll read it on air. If you missed that segment, check it out. SoundCloud.com/after-hours-1620 is brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. Temperatures are rising at an all-time high outside. Don't let them rise inside. Get a maintenance appointment set up. Get peace of mind about your AC unit this summer. Tony and the team are going to come out and take a look at it. Make sure that your AC is ready to roll, but also give you peace of mind about your furnace this fall as well. Head over to controlledcomfort.com. Get a maintenance appointment set up tonight. The social media soundbite. We're celebrating another anniversary. We come back on the other side of the break. 1620 The Zone.
Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for AX Plumbing. Home or residential, they can do it all. Head over to axpservice.com tonight. Get a free estimate for whatever plumbing issues are ailing your home tonight. There's a discount for current and former military members. They'll also give you there's also financing available on the website as well. Maybe you have a big plumbing problem. You don't have a big plumbing budget. AX Plumbing can help you take care of your plumbing needs. Home or residential, they'll leave it cleaner than they found it. Check out axpservice.com tonight.
1, 2, 3, My baby don't mess around because she loves me so, and this I know for sure. But does she really wanna? But can't stand to see me walk out the door.
It's 6:59 on a Thursday night edition of the After Hours Lunch, brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu, register for classes, and become a Bruin tonight. We just talked about the 75th anniversary of the College World Series in the last segment. It's time to talk about another anniversary. Britta, what do we got for the social media soundbite?
Well, I mean, it's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, everyone knows.
Michael B. Jordan?
Michael B. Jordan. I'm sorry, I'm stalling because there's an ad.
It's not Michael B. Jordan. It's Michael Jeffrey Jordan, by the way.
Jeffrey Jordan. But there's one famous game. I think you bring up any game of Jordan's career, but there's one game that I think everybody knows. Literally, I think every single person knows. The flu game.
And here it is.
Oh,
And here it is.
come on. There we go.
Here it is. That is the legendary late great Stuart Scott on the call on Sports Center too. It just reminds you how good he really was at his job. The Bulls win Game 5 on June 11th, so we're 25 years and 1 day removed from the. What would it be? That's be 27 years and 1 day removed from the infamous flu game, and it wasn't even the flu. We later found out he actually had food poisoning.
Yeah.
Because they got a pizza delivered late to the hotel, and apparently they were big Jazz fans and trying to give Karl Malone and the boys an upper hand. But Chicago goes on to win the game 90-88, and they close out the series back at home in Chicago, 90-86, and Michael wins his 5th NBA championship.
Yep, it's they're just iconic moments in sports that you can't get over. You know, the Babe Ruth point,
And there were so many moments, not even in this game. I mean, you have the famous moment with him with the ice bag on the back of his head, being covered by the towel, trying to get his fever down. He hits the 3-pointer, and after he labored up and down the court, he barely made it to the other side of the time stripe. Just looks at the crowd and shrugs, and it's just like even without all of his superpowers, without Magic Mike stuff, he was still the greatest of all time.
Like I was like the Babe Ruth point, the John Elway helicopter.
Yeah.
Like there are just these moments that live on through time, and the flu game is certainly one of those.
If you missed the social media soundbite tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by our friends at Pixel Fire Marketing. Is your company showing up at the top of search engine optimization? Does your website convert to mobile? Do you have a website at all? If not, you need to work with Pixel Fire Marketing. They will ignite your social media presence, entice your ideal client, and engage your brand online. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com to work with a marketing agency right here in Omaha. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Talking about Nationals calling up maybe the most important part of their roster from AAA. That's the break. 1620 zone.
The ties that bind are tearing me apart. Jenny says,
Hey, everybody. John here for Paul Davis Restoration. Looks like we got some thunderstorms, bad news, on the horizon for the weekend. And if you're worried about what might happen to your house, if water gets into the basement, well, you should be worried about that. And if it does happen, and if you're worried about mold, you're worried about having that dampness in the basement, all that stuff, Paul Davis is here to help you out. All you got to do is give them a call, 402-553-0373. That's the number to get your house back to the way it was before any of that damage happened. You don't have to deal with a damp, moldy basement. Get that fixed up. Call 402-553-0373 for Paul Davis Restoration.
Top of the second hour here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. If Pyramid Roofing has ever done any work on your house, whether it be your roof, your windows, your gutters, your siding, you know it's been top quality. Help us out. Head over to pyramidroof.com and vote them to be #1 in Omaha in 2025. Yet again, it is time for Buy or Sell with Brody Heidemann. Brody, what do we got?
Good evening. Jimmy alluded to it before the break. Guys, we have breaking news.
Breaking news.
The Nationals have called up the top prospect on their board. They have called up Bruce, the Bat Dog, from AAA. Buy or sell, we need more animals
So
in sports.
Bruce is a famous TikTok star, the
Hmm.
AAA affiliate of the Nationals. He is their bat boy. He runs out, grabs the dog, or grabs the bat, and brings it back to the dugout. The Nationals are making him their official bat boy for the rest of the season. Yes, hammer. We definitely need more animals in sports.
It feels pretty gimmicky to me. It's minor league baseball stuff. And
Not
look,
anymore.
Wow.
Look, minor league baseball's fun and it serves a purpose, right?
I hate dogs, says John.
And
Steiner.
it's there for these kinds of things to make it not necessarily about the baseball. It's
Well-
about the event. It's about the atmosphere. It's about the experience. You bring the kid out, watch the dog run on the field. We're talking about Major League Baseball, boys.
But-
this is the pinnacle of baseball. We do not need more animals.
It's the pinnacle of Major League of baseball, and Bruce the Bat Dog is a part of it.
Yeah,
and
this-
not soon enough.
This
Yeah.
is the
No,
Nationals.
I sell. We don't need more animals.
The Nationals.
Boise State has a dog that goes
You
out
think
and
you
gets
think
the
it's
team.
cool that Colorado runs a buffalo onto the field?
No, there's nothing
Is it a
cool
good
about it.
idea for LSU to have a live tiger on the
Yes.
sideline?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
No, it's a bad idea.
It's
all bad.
It's the Nationals. They
Remember
need
when
some
Ugo almost
kind
bit
of
that
luck.
guy from Auburn? It's awesome.
Bad.
Great moments in sports.
I mean, the Nationals need something. So, I mean, a dog.
The fact that you
coming
called their
up-
top prospect a dog.
It probably
Tells
actually
you all you need to know.
It probably is. I don't know. I don't think they have very much going for them nowadays. They called up all their top prospects, and they're like 20 years old playing in the majors. So, I mean, this
Bruce
dog,
is probably younger than that.
yeah, in dog years, he's probably 14. I don't know.
What else we got?
Are they going to have Star Wars night next?
They
Probably.
probably already do.
Troy Dannon said Nebraska will not be hanging a banner for the Crown Championship. Buy or sell, this is a bad look.
I think it's a horrible look. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a celebration. You won something. I would hang a banner. If you're gonna hang an NIT banner,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look, but not for the typical reason. I think it's a bad look because it sounds arrogant, and you have no reason to be
Fair
arrogant
enough.
about your basketball program.
Yeah.
That's the reason it's a bad look to me. Like Nebraska, hello, have you ever won an NCAA tournament game? No, you have not. Like, you better hang every banner that you can get your grubby little mitts on. Like, you have no reason to look down your nose at winning a championship of the Crown.
I get you feel like you should have higher aspirations, and that's absolutely true. But the fact is, you haven't achieved those things.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like they're not acknowledging this team.
Yeah, just
Like,
be
it's like-
realistic.
It's they went out and did something big. They went out and won the crown, even though it's not the national championship. There's NIT banners in there. It's NIT appearances.
I think it's a bigger deal than winning the NIT. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
it is.
Like the best teams who didn't make the field in the NCAA tournament this year played in the Crown.
Uh huh.
They didn't go to the NIT.
There.
All right, what do we got, Brody?
The Knicks have been turned down by literally, I think every existing head coach they have asked to interview.
Yep.
Buy or sell that there is a chance maybe they go back and ask Tom Thibodeau if he wants to come back and coach again.
I sell because I don't think there's any chance that happens.
Yeah.
Because that's a little crazy, but it kind of feels like Tom Thibodeau might be the best option available right now. It's incredibly insane to me that you make the Eastern Conference Finals and fire your head coach, and you clearly didn't have an option.
Yeah.
And I know Tom Thibodeau's personality can rub people the wrong way, and I think that's more the reason than anything that he got fired this season. But he's still a pretty damn good head basketball coach. And unless your stars were coming to you asking you to do this, it blows my mind that it feels like the Knicks just didn't have any idea
Yeah.
what they were going to do.
Yeah, I sell. Tibbs isn't coming back. But like, this is a lesson in the message that you send mattering.
Mm.
Right? Because if a guy gets you to the Eastern Conference Finals and gets fired, what does that say about your expectations for the next coach? Like, the next guy who's looking at this job is going, man, they fired the guy who got him one step from the NBA Finals. Like,
Yes.
what if we, bow out in the second round? Do I lose my job too? Like, it's just you put coaches in a bad spot when you're saying, like, we talk about it all the time. When Nebraska fired Frank Solich and then couldn't get anyone to take the job, right? Like, you fired a guy who was coming off a 10-win season. Like, what is it going to look like for me coming in as a first-year head coach who knows nothing about I think it just matters the message you send when you decide to move on from someone. Your next prospective candidates are looking at it going, I don't know if I like that situation.
And there's layers to it, right? Like if the Knicks were in the same situation as the Thunder and they had won 58 regular season games, they were the number 1 seed in the East, and they got beaten. They made the Eastern Conference Finals and they got swept. Okay. You could get me there. They got to game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals as a 3 seed. Just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was an upset for them to be in that spot.
Yeah, exactly. What else we got?
Well, I find it funny that one guy that I think they might have been looking for to hire, and there was talks about him last season holding out to get the Knicks job, and then he came back this offseason and said,
Nope.
I'm not doing anything this summer, guys. Dan Hurley, he literally, it felt like last summer he was holding out for maybe another job, and then maybe they had their eyes set on him or the chance to get him, and he goes, no, I'm gonna hold out.
Yeah.
I found it funny that Dan Hurley just kind of denied the Knicks.
Listen, I like Dan Hurley's name, especially after the 2 national championships, is always going to come up. I find it really hard to believe that he's going to find himself in a better situation than he has in Storrs, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, he might find more
He's-
money somewhere else, especially in the NBA. I don't know if he's going to have a sweeter gig than he's got right now, though.
I honestly think that with the Hurley situation, him winning 2 national championships was a bigger decision for him to come back
Mm-hmm.
because of that, chasing an unprecedented third title. Like,
Well, I wonder how much he looked, because obviously the option last year was the Lakers. I wonder if he just looked at how much of a dumpster fire that is now, and then on top of what you just said, went,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yep.
not.
It's confusing. But guys, the house settlement has already been appealed due to Title IX. Buy or sell women's athletics get 50% of the $20.5 million allowed amount for rev sharing.
Listen, the way it's worded from a legal standpoint kind of feels like they're going to have to. And I don't know how they're
I said it for a long time, man.
I don't know how they're going to get around that. I don't think they're going to be able to. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is actually going to happen is I think they're already going to have to raise the dollar amount from 20.5 to appease and make good with the other side of sports that's not football. Because I don't see any other way around it.
Yeah. I never understood how they were going to get around Title IX saying that, well, football is going to take 80% of the money. Like, how
Are they?
How are you going to do this? That looks illegal to me. And
Yeah.
like,
And
we've talked to Bob about it, and he didn't know how they were going to do it either. So
well,
I don't
it
know what
sounds like they didn't either.
I don't know what even is their defense going to be.
Yeah, and the other interesting part about all this is it's not stopping the payments. Like, even though this is being appealed, schools and conferences are still going to be paying out the $2.8 billion settlement. So, man, we've got ourselves in a mess in college athletics right now.
It's a huge mess.
Brody?
I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to divvy it up, especially like a school like Nebraska where, the volleyball team is as prevalent as it is. I mean, now the softball team getting some stars. I mean, we just have a lot of good women's sports in Nebraska. And if they decide to split it 50-50, it's going to grow the women's sports game immensely.
Well, and I asked Bob about this last night, John, and I said, there's no way that these players become employees until this house settlement's completely paid off, right? And he said, from a legal standpoint, that's probably not even possible.
Yeah.
So if the option to get around Title IX is bring it all in house and make them employees, well, you're not gonna be able to do that for a long, long time anyway.
Yeah. It's a messy situation, and I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't know how to think about it. There's so many levers and so many moving parts, and like, the house settlement's not the end. This is definitely
definitely
not
Probably
the
the
end.
beginning, unfortunately. Brody, what else we got?
Not a buy or sell, but John, you and I, we were not here last night.
We weren't.
Dan and Jimmy broke down the ESPN college football future power rankings.
Yep.
Texas is number one on that list.
Yeah.
Thoughts on it?
I actually agree with Texas being number one.
Yeah, I did too.
You have Texas, who is an extremely powerful brand in college athletics, now in one of the two highest paying conferences as far as rev share, which just adds to their kitty of money. Like it seems like you get that snowball rolling downhill, and Texas looks like they are in for some championship events in the future to come. I mean, especially in football. Like we know Texas
Yeah.
being the recruiting hotbed, it looks like they have the right coach in place finally. And now you bring in all those SEC dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Like Texas is looking like they are in really well. The only quibble I have here is Notre Dame at 5. And I know I've talked up Notre Dame a lot and their national fan base and everything.
They're replacing a lot though.
Well, but we're talking about like the future power rankings,
Mhm.
right? I think long term, and you've said this a lot, Jimmy, they're going to need an affiliation with a big money making institution because
So really quickly though, this is the future power rankings for this season.
okay,
Just making sure.
yeah, okay, but in the long term, I think this year they're the defense. You know, they lost some key pieces on defense. They're replacing a quarterback.
Well, they
and-
lost their biggest piece on defense.
Yeah,
Xavier Watts is gone.
yeah. But for this year, I still think they have a good chance to make the playoff. I don't know that they're 5. I don't know that they're the 5th best team in the
Mhm.
country.
The one thing that we were debating last night is Scott Frost and UCF find themselves at 67th on this
Gosh.
list,
Hmm.
4 from the bottom. We were debating if he could. He went 6 and 7 in his first season at UCF the first time. We were debating if he could get back to 500 this time. I don't think he can. It's not the AAC anymore. It's the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is going to be really good this year. I think he's going to have a really big hill to climb in his first season.
Yeah, he doesn't have
Yeah.
the pieces. He doesn't. I don't think he has what he had when he came in the first time. Not like it was a lot, but I don't know. I don't think he can get to 6 wins.
John?
Frost this year get to 6 wins. It looks it doesn't look impossible, but it looks improbable. I'll say that.
Uh-huh.
I don't like Iowa State's established, Arizona State's established, BYU's established. Baylor started to figure it out at the end of the year. Kansas is coming off of like a bad start to their season, but they started to figure it out
They
at the end of the
rebounded.
year. You trust Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. Like you start looking at the teams and coaches in that league, and you're like, who's UCF going to beat?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I have BYU and K-State in the playoff, by the way.
Yeah, it looks really, really tough.
It's the Big 12. I think I heard Jimmy say this last night. I was listening. He said that the Big 12 is the sleeper conference next year. They are. I think you said they're really like they could be really good next year, and people aren't talking about it enough.
Hey, if you missed Buy or Sell tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It's brought to you by our friends at Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. Don't let the temperatures outside affect the temperatures in your house. Set up a maintenance appointment with Controlled Comfort. Head over to controlledcomfort.com tonight. Let Tony and the crew know you heard about them on Afterhours. They're going to come out, take a look at your AC and your heater, and make sure that you have peace of mind about the warm months, but also make sure your home is prepared for the winter months as well. Get peace of mind about your HVAC tonight at controlledcomfort.com. We'll be right back. The Hockey Corner, the NBA basement, and something called the Lynx Lounge open up on the other side of the break. 1620 zone.
Shimmy, shuffle down. Way past one, feeling alright.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Bob Williams with Williams Law. You just heard myself and John Schreiner reference Bob a lot in that last segment. It's not because we know that Bob knows his stuff. It's because he's one of the most respected lawyers in Omaha. And if your son or daughter is going to find themselves in some trouble, or maybe you get down around downtown Omaha around next week and you maybe have a few too many to drink and you find yourself facing a DUI charge, there's no better option than Bob Williams of Williams Law in Omaha. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com. Bob and his team are going to sit you down, explain yours or your son or daughter's rights, walk you through the process, and get you ready for your big day in court. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight and get a free, no obligation legal consultation. 7:26 on a Thursday night edition of the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. Head over to pyramidroof.com if you're looking for a free estimate on your roof, your windows, your gutters, your siding. They can do it all. Check out pyramidroof.com tonight. It is time to leave the bar. Head over to the corner. Put yourself
right.
over a table. It's the NHL hockey corner as it's game 4, right? Game 4.
Game 4.
Game 4 gets underway for Lord Stanley's Cup.
Well, look, I'm gonna make a proclamation here as this game. We're about 2.5 minutes in, still 0-0. If Edmonton doesn't win tonight,
Ooh.
the series is over.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And not just because it'll be 3-1. Like that's a
Mhm.
big enough hill to climb anyway.
Because of how Florida won the last game.
Because of how Edmonton let Florida get under their skin
Mhm.
in the last game. They just lost their minds when
Well,
they
it-
got down 3 goals.
And I know it's 2 minutes in, but Florida's been controlling the first 3 minutes of this game too.
Edmonton just they lost their minds. They got completely away from themselves. They got irritated with the flow of the game. And that's what Florida can do to you. Like they can make you play in a way that is frustrating and make you mad. And look, Edmonton started taking a bunch of cheap shots in game 3.
They did
And-
everything we gave them credit for
Yeah,
not doing in
yep.
game 1.
They got away from their game. They started taking cheap shots, looking for revenge, and they got called for everything. Florida got power play goals, and then the fight started because they were mad. And like you can't play this game at this level mad. You can't. You have to have a system, you have to have a plan, and you have to be able to stick to it. And if you're operating from a position of anger and vengeance, well, that's the way Florida wants you to play.
Yeah, we're 3 minutes into this, and Florida already has 6 shots on goal. By the way,
Jeez.
not a great start for the Oilers. They haven't given up a goal yet. The defense is held through this part, but yeah, it's everything we said about game 1. It was Edmonton did a great job not
Handling the physicality.
handling the physicality, but not getting over their skates, not reaching for things, not taking the cheap shots, not falling into situations that would put you into a power play. And they gave up the most power play situations of their entire playoff run in the third game of the Stanley Cup Finals. And that's not a great place to do that in.
And look, Florida is totally accustomed to playing. This is what they do to teams.
Yeah.
Like this is their game.
It's what won them a Stanley Cup a year ago. And
Yep.
again, right there,
Yeah, he got a little.
another cheap shot by the Oilers that didn't get a penalty, but it also it just gives you an indication that this might be a rinse and repeat. Not only that, but obviously the early shots on goals by the Panthers, and just Edmonton just looks like they're already over their skis, reaching for pucks, not waiting and letting their offense flow. They just already seem out of sync, and it might be. And listen, this game's also in Florida, so it could already be over, even though the game's 0-0.
I don't feel like if Edmonton doesn't win this game, I don't think they have that reset in them.
And it's being creatures of habits, right? I mean, listen, you saw the same team beat you a year ago in the same exact fashion. So why would you have any belief that game 5 could be any different, right?
Yeah, I think the series actually hinges on this game right here tonight. It's a must win for Edmonton, and honestly, if Edmonton doesn't win tonight,
another shot on goal,
hand Florida the cup. Honestly.
I want to take a step back, and I think it's an absolute travesty that this NBA Finals is probably going to be one of the lowest TV ratings of all time.
It's crazy.
And it's because of the 2 TV markets involved with Indianapolis and Oklahoma City. And anybody that was watching that game last night, and not even the game, the crowd and the people in attendance, you think this one might matter to the folks of Indianapolis?
A little bit.
The entire state of Indiana looked like they were in that building last night, and they helped will that team to a win last night. I mean, Reggie Miller with his sweet jersey over his hoodie tucked into his jeans. There might not be anything more 1990s than Reggie Miller with his jersey tucked into his jeans over a hoodie, by the way. But it was just an incredible thing to see that crowd and obviously that franchise waiting so long for a championship, and they pull ahead last night in the series 2-1 heading into game 4. And I said this last night as a negative. And I said, if you're Indiana, you got to be concerned that you lost in the way you did in game 2 because all 5 of your starters scored 15 points or more. But there's also the fact that all of their starters scored 15 points or more, and they were able to kind of stack that last night. Obviously, Siakam kind of took the game over and scored 21. Tyrese Halliburton he just looks like he's destined to win this championship. And I know how stupid that sounds, and I know I've been saying it for weeks, but they looked like the better team last night. And this is a team, they're facing a team that won 68 games and only lost 14.
Yeah. I think it was huge, the game they won at Oklahoma City, because going into
massive.
going into their own home court and taking a win like that, and then going back to Indiana, like Jimmy was saying, it feels like that entire state is there rooting for them. It's massive. And now you get that momentum. And even though they lost game 2, look what they did last night. It felt like they had the momentum the entire game. They were playing with the fans on their back, and
they handled the runs too. Whether it be SGA or whoever that just got hot for OKC at the right time. Like, you just had multiple guys from Indiana responding, and whether it be Halliburton, whether it be Siakam, I mean, Mathurin gave you 27 off the bench too. Like, they just and listen, they kept OKC's bench in check going into halftime. The Thunder only had 9 points off the bench.
Crazy.
And that's not going to win you basketball games. I don't care if Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and Shea Alexander all score over 20 points. It's just not going to happen. Listen, you got to walk back into that same building for game 4. And if you're OKC, you got to find. Listen, I don't think it's going to be over like we just discussed with the hockey series and the Stanley Cup Finals. But if you don't find a way to win that game, it's going to be really tough sledding for the rest of the series for you.
Yeah, going down 3-1 would not be good for them.
So my prediction of an Oklahoma City sweep isn't coming true?
No, and then Andrew, who was sitting in for you last night, said that this is going to be a gentleman's sweep and that the series is over. And OKC was just going to walk away with the series going forward. And I responded, Pacers in 6, which I've been saying since the start of the series.
Wow.
By the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, nobody gave the Pacers a chance, really.
No, they never did.
Nobody?
Including
I wouldn't
me.
say nobody.
No, going into the playoffs, it felt like there was like a 4-team mix of teams that you said these are the teams that are going to either be in the finals or they're going to win the finals. The Thunder were up there. I want to say it was like the Celtics, the Cavs, I
sat in this chair in game 4 of the series against the Cavaliers, and I told all of you what was going to happen. Don't say nobody.
Okay.
So
Jimmy,
nobody thought the Pacers
Jimmy.
had a chance.
Not one person, apparently. Some golf event is taking place. You want to talk about it?
It's a little golf event at the arguably the easiest course in the entire world.
Wow.
It's today was
5 1/4 inch rough.
Today watching,
and just about everybody found themselves there today.
It was awesome just watching some of the best golfers in the world, like Rory McIlroy. You go watch him go out there, and you see him hit a shot that I'm hitting when I'm playing at Tiburon in smaller rough. He's hitting it the same shot.
No free shoutouts.
In the 5-inch rough, and I'm like, wow, it made me feel like a golfer. But then I'm like, okay, this rough is 5 inches. Just watching the pros, the guys, DeChambeau, Scheffler.
There's only 10 guys under par,
yeah,
by the way.
Those guys were crumbling.
Scheffler and DeChambeau +3.
Yeah, they were crumbling at the end of their rounds.
Did you see I know you've been busy all day. Did you see the Scheffler shot out of the rough where he hit it and landed like 5 inches? And he whacked the crap out of it. And the rough was just so high it just rolled like 5 inches.
I didn't see that one.
It was there was a couple guys today that usually, no matter what the rough situation is, they could put it a couple 100 yards down the field, and not the case today.
Yeah, did you have JJ Spawn on your scorecard today?
He was playing out of his mind. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow. He was making putts, like the putts he was making to save par. There was it was on Barstool earlier. I think it was like he made like a 17-footer, an 11-footer, a 10-footer.
He sank 4 birdies today.
Yeah,
that's why he's in first place.
He had a bogey-free round, which I can't remember how many there's been, but it's barely any, and he's just. I mean,
what is it? Number 3 at Oakmont that has the square green?
Oh no!
It's 5, right?
There's a lot that are like square. The one that's on the clubhouse. I can't remember if it's 9 or 18.
I can confirm 5 does. I was watching a couple of guys on 5.
There's a bunch that are square, but there's one that's
so weird.
There's one that's 23,000 square feet.
Yeah,
which is massive. It's technically the practice putting green as well.
Yeah,
like it's the same green, but they use it for the ninth hole as well.
What a snag! Sorry, Brody.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, as far as the guys that are under par, John Rahm, could he put it together?
The live guys are looking good. I mean,
Koepka.
Did you see this? Did you see this catch by Skinner? What an they go glove side and he just snags it out of the air. Is that Matt Lauer?
No, that's Kenny Albert and Taylor Swift.
I knew who the person on the right was.
Oh, and look who else is there.
Oh.
Kelsey's
What a
there too. Look
surprise.
at this.
Who are they rooting for? They're wearing Kansas City gear. It's a little weird.
Kansas City doesn't have a hockey team. Taylor.
Yeah, nor is anybody from the Kansas City region playing in the
And she's from Pennsylvania and he's from Cincinnati. So
Yeah.
who could they possibly be rooting for?
Mhm.
Maybe they're just in attendance for a good game.
Yeah.
Listen, they ain't got anything else going on. They're millionaires. Why not? I guess Taylor's a billionaire. Are people going to be complaining about this on Twitter? Is she being shown too much at hockey games now?
Hmm.
It's been a thing.
Probably.
In the NFL.
No, I back to golf. I like Brooks Koepka's chance
I-
where he sits right now.
Big game Brooks. He's won it 2
Yep.
times before.
He's got to find a way to stay out of the rough.
I just think tomorrow is going to be the day that you're going to see a lot of things happen because these guys that are at the top, they're going to have to stay under par again. I feel like it's going to kind of be a day where you're going to see a lot of guys just sit where they're at or they're going to move down. There's
Yeah.
not going to be anybody that's really moving up crazy.
I wouldn't
I think
wouldn't
know.
count out Colin Morikawa.
that's what
either.
he's sitting right there. He's sitting even. He had an
Even.
even day. Him and Jordan Spieth. Spieth finished off. He had a lot of interesting shots like Spieth always does. And I think this course is kind of built for Spieth. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of is sitting there at the top on Saturday.
Morikawa is he's really accurate.
Yes.
which you need at
It's
Oakmont.
huge at Oakmont.
Yeah,
It's
Rory 4
Yeah.
over, by the way.
yeah. He had a really interesting round. There was a few shots. He
none of the big names did well.
Yeah, there was a few shots that Rory had. He got in this ditch at one point, and he got out of it. And there's just this one ditch. Him and Scheffler also went in this ditch, and it was like if you made it in this ditch, you were going at minimum double bogey, and they both made it in that ditch, and it kind of propelled their round to be terrible.
Hey, if you missed the Hockey Corner, the NBA Basement, or the Lynx Lounge, check it out at soundcloud.com/after hours 1620 was brought to you by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear, the premier suit buying experience in the Midwest. You don't even want to rent a tux for your big day. You want to own the suit that you get married in. You can do it at Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear, 78th and Dodge. They've been dressing Omaha for over 50 years. There's an interesting development in Cincinnati with a rookie. We're going to tell you what's going on in Bengals camp. We come back. 1620 The Zone.
Never comes easy. Hey, travel to the top of the world.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Pepper Jack's Grill. 10 great locations throughout the Omaha area. A ton of great entrees, but they got 3 brand new sides. That's right, onion rings, jalapeno poppers, and also, you can get the steak fries too, but also the Midwestern classic. It's cheese curds. You're not going to want to pass up the 3 great combinations with Pepper Jack's spicy ranch. Get it with your favorite entree, whether you're looking for a burrito, a rice bowl. They have salad options. If you got a vegan or a vegetarian in your life, those options are available as well. Check out Pepper Jack's Grill. 10 great locations. Grab dinner tonight. 7:43 on a Thursday night edition of the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. Over a decade of being number one doesn't happen by accident. Head over to pyramidroof.com. Get a free estimate for your windows, your roof, your gutters, your siding. They do it all. But while you're there, vote for them to be best in Omaha in 2025 as well. We're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals situation, but there's been some controversy
Oh,
inside the After
Big.
Hours Lounge. People are at the night shift is checked in tonight, and they are very concerned.
about?
The rearranging situation.
Oh,
Captain has pointed out that I am sitting at shortstop and you were playing second base tonight. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's sitting in. You can see us if you're watching on the stream on our beautiful sky cam. There you can see Brody Heidemann's illustrious hair, but you can also see that John and I have switched positions tonight. I hate sitting in this chair. I don't know why. I've always sat in that chair, even back to the Top Fan Show days. And this is the weirdest thing in the world. This is the way my brain works as the Florida Panthers, who apparently that's who Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are rooting for, just score a goal in the Stanley Cup Finals after their 11th shot on goal in the first period. It feels like a completely different job when I sit here. I don't know how and I don't know why, but for whatever, you were late today.
yep.
Michael Severe was filling in for John Bishop. He was sitting there and he was taking a little while to get out of his seat. It was fine because the seat was open. And there's logically no reason that I can't sit here, but it drives me nuts, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because these monitors are in front of us and I can't see the producer. There's better view over there to
Yeah.
communicate. But the weird thing sitting in that chair is these monitors then become in the way of when we have guests in.
Yes.
But still, I prefer that side. I don't know why.
Yeah, I have College World Series duties. I run the camera at the press conferences. So our last conference ended at 5:45 today. So I made my way down here as quickly as I could. But
The night shift was asking where you were last night as well. They were concerned why you weren't
again,
here. Yeah.
setting up the press room at the College World Series. That's why I was unable to make an appearance last night.
But
So,
we do appreciate all of our loyal listeners being so loyal that they noticed.
Yes,
we're
thank
different-
you for your
we're-
concern.
We're in different chairs
I
tonight.
am alive.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not a clone that's sitting in a different seat.
I have to make a promise to everybody, though. I don't think I can let you and Andrew, who hosted last night, host a show together, though, because it's going to be 2 hours of soccer talk. So,
Well, everybody wants that.
yeah, no, nobody wants that. Hey, if you missed this segment and want to find out what the inner workings of the After Hours Lounge is, check it out at soundcloud.com/After Hours 1620. It was brought to you by AX Plumbing. Homie.
Homie.
AX Plumbing, Homer Residential. They do it all. Check out axpservice.com for all your plumbing, water heater, gas piping, and backflow prevention issues. AX Plumbing is locally owned and operated. They'll leave your home or business cleaner than they found it. There's even a discount for current and former military members as well as first responders. If you have a big plumbing project, but not a big plumbing budget, there's also financing available at axpservice.com tonight. We'll be right back on the other side of the break, giving you our Papillion Sanitation Trash Takes the Night here on 1620 Zone.
Homie. Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Goose's Bar and Grill in Papillion, 129 North Washington Street. That's where you need to go during Papillion Days. Yes, that's right. It's Papillion Days. So if you're taking the kiddos out for some rides and some cotton candy and some funnel cakes, well, you want something a little better than candy and funnel cakes? Check out Goose's. Stop in for a $12 French dip with your choice of a side. And might I recommend that you go with the goose eggs? It's a crispy hash brown round with the hole cut out in the middle. We got to try them the other day. They are fantastic. Check out the goose eggs at Goose's. And maybe you left the kids at home and you're taking in Papillion Days for yourself. Well, that's fine. Stop in for a $2 Busch Light Draw. Where else can you get a $2 beer in this day and age? Well, Goose's is one place for sure. Stop by also because you can grab the pulled pork sandwich for lunch. Nate's only going to make a few. Supplies are limited. So get in early and get your pulled pork sandwich while you're enjoying Papillion Days. It's Goose's Bar and Grill, 129 North Washington Street in Papillion.
Wrapping up the show. It is closing time here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Pyramid Roofing. Head over to pyramidroof.com tonight. Set up a free estimate for your windows, your roof, your gutters, your siding. They can do it all. Have it done this summer by pyramidroof.com. It's time for a Papillion Sanitation Trash Takes of the Night. Brody Heidemann, you have been deliberating.
Deliberating?
Thank
What are you
you.
trying to say?
Deliberating what you're going to go with your trash take with for tonight. Easy for me to say. What did you come up with? What do you got? We'll let you start us off.
So we talked a lot about golf earlier, but one of the things we didn't get to is there's been a lot of talk, and they talked about before the tournament. They said that there is not going to be somebody that finishes under par that's going to be the winner. I think that there's going to be somebody that finishes under par, but I think there's going to be, like right now, there's only 10 people who finished under par. I think at the end of this week or at the end of this weekend, there's going to be 5 people that finish under par. And I think the winning score is going to be either 1 or 2 under. Just the way the course played today and the way that everything turned out, the conditions of it, the way people, like the best of the best were playing. I don't think anybody's going to beat JJ Spawn's 4 under. And there's not going to be anybody that's going to move that far down the board that's already that high up. So I think that 1 or 2 under is going to win this thing.
John Schreiner?
This weekend is Father's Day weekend. And
Is it? That's next weekend, isn't it?
Nope. I think it's this Sunday.
Oh, you're right. Good call.
it's this
My bad.
Sunday. Yeah, you made me doubt myself there.
I thought it was next Sunday.
This weekend is Father's Day weekend, and 5 years ago I lost my dad,
Oh man, I'm sorry.
and not on this weekend, but it's been almost 5 years now, and it always makes me think about the lessons that I took from my dad, and the reason I'm sitting here able to do this today, because he taught me lessons like perseverance, toughness, mental fortitude. And those are the things that he drilled into me. And like in our business, you know this, Jimmy, you'll learn it very soon, young Brody, that if you don't have a certain amount of resilience, you're not going to get anywhere, because you're going to get
Amen,
told
my
no
brother.
over and over and over again. And I think in a world today where everything is instant gratification and we want it now and we want it yesterday in most cases, like those lessons for young men and young women too are so very important, that anything worth having is worth working for and worth waiting to get it. And at this time of year, I try to think about the ways in which I'm imparting the things that my dad taught me onto my own son. And I think everyone out there who's listening should just take a moment to recognize that, you know, there are things that your father did for you that you probably don't even recognize at this point. Take some time to reflect on that. Think about those things and how you're imparting it on the young people in your life, whether they're your own kids or not. And the last message I want to leave with tonight is that, like, family relationships can be tough, and maybe you don't have a good relationship with your dad. And if there's a way to repair it in your life, if there's anything you can do to get, and sometimes there's not.
Sure.
Sometimes there's no fixing it. But if there's a way, I encourage you to do that, man, because there's going to come a time when it absolutely isn't possible to do anything more with that relationship. I had a great relationship with my dad, and my heart goes out to anyone who doesn't. And that's my message for Father's Day this weekend, is just like, if you can fix it, and if it's not good, go about doing that.
You know this about me, and I guess I can share it publicly. Me and my father have never had the best relationship, but we've recently kind of repaired a little bit of that too. So I'm not going to be able to top that. So we're going to call that the show tonight. If you missed any of it, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Allo Business. Allo Business is empowering companies in the community and in Nebraska since 2003. They're offering you different suites that are going to improve your overall product, including data, business, TV, cybersecurity, and voice solutions. Head over to allobusiness.com tonight and get out of the Stone Age and work with Allo Business tonight. For Brody Heidemann, John Schreiner, I've been Jimmy Allen. Go enjoy Father's Day in the CWS, everybody.